If you ask any parent about their worst nightmare, they will answer without hesitation that it is losing their child. This pain never goes away, and no parent should ever endure such a horrible tragedy.
My wife was dead, my daughter was dead, and I wasn't sure how my sons were going to make it.
Sadly, sometimes it does happen. Death doesn't care how successful or wealthy one is. It just arrives claiming the most important person in their life. Today, we take a look at the celebrities who lost their children through tragic circumstances. Eric Clapton. Connor was 4 when in March 1991, Eric Clapton arrived at a New York apartment to collect the boy from his mother, who had custody. It was the first time the legendary musician had ever taken his son out anywhere by himself. It was the birth of his son and his desire to be a good father that actually made Clapton return to sobriety.
And he was really the chief reason that I went back to treatment.
That day was a new milestone for him as a dad. The next morning, as Clapton was due to arrive to pick up Connor for another day out, tragedy struck. The little boy fell out of an open window from the 53rd floor. 2 days before his 46th birthday, Clapton said goodbye to his son at the funeral. The musician expressed the grief over losing his child in the song Tears in Heaven, which appeared on his Unplugged album. Keanu Reeves. Keanu, fairly called the humblest man in Hollywood, has gone through a series of personal losses in his life. One of those was the loss of his child. In the late 90s, Keanu met Jennifer. The two instantly fell in love, and soon Jennifer was already pregnant with their first daughter. Sadly, the child they were so eagerly waiting for was born stillborn after 8 months of pregnancy. The strain put on the couple's relationship by the grief was believed to have resulted in their breakup several weeks later. In 2001, Jennifer tragically died in a car accident. Speaking years later with Parade magazine about Jennifer's passing, Keanu confessed, "Grief changes shape, but it never ends. People have a misconception that you can deal with it and say, it's gone and I'm better. They're wrong. When the people you love are gone, you're alone." Mike Tyson. It happened in 2009. Mike Tyson's daughter was peacefully playing on a treadmill at her home in Phoenix when all of a sudden she accidentally got tangled in a cord. As soon as her older brother discovered little Exodus with her neck caught in a cable hanging under the machine's console, he alerted his mom. All the attempts to revive the girl turned out unsuccessful. Iron Mike, who was considered to be one of the toughest men on the planet, couldn't and still can't speak about his daughter's tragic death without tears in his eyes. He confessed to doing cocaine for a week after her passing.
I couldn't handle it.
This interview became history when Tyson, with no warning, apparently unable to deal with his emotions any longer, asked the reporter to leave.
You have to go. No, you understand, right? Thank you.
Because no time is enough time to get over the grief of losing a child. John Travolta. 16-year-old Jet Travolta was at the family's vacation home in the Bahamas when tragedy struck. The teenager, who at an early age was diagnosed with a poorly understood syndrome, had a seizure and hit his head on the bath. All the attempts to revive him were unsuccessful. Devastated, John Travolta described the death of his son as, quote, "the worst thing that's ever happened in my life."
But you know, you plan on a life that's a lot longer for your child, and you always intend to go first.
According to the Saturday Night Fever star, it was the Church of Scientology that helped the family deal with the loss.
40 years, it's been amazing. I've saved other people's lives. I've saved my own life several times.
In a recent development, after more than 10 years since the boy's passing, Travolta and his wife, actress Kelly Preston, took to social media to pay tribute to their eldest son and to celebrate what would have been his 28th birthday. Sylvester Stallone. When a parent loses a child, there is no greater pain. This agonizing loss will be felt for the rest of our lives. Sage was his first child, and, as the actor himself put it, the center of his universe.
It's being friendly to people, you know, because being Stallone's son, they expect you to be, you know, this punk, man, this spoiled, you know, idiot.
And you're not. 36-year-old Sage was found dead by a housekeeper in his Los Angeles apartment. The young Stallone, who was reportedly engaged, died of a heart attack. In his first media appearance following the tragic passing of his son, the actor stayed strong, saying it was a horrible situation for all of them, but expressing hope that time would heal the wounds. Sylvester and Sage did go through a rough patch in their relationship after his divorce with the boy's mom, but years later, Stallone managed to restore it just to lose his son again. Pierce Brosnan. Handsome, talented, famous, with an incredible family. When the last part of this equation gets shattered, the others don't matter either. This is what happened in the life of Pierce Brosnan. He suffered the first of a string of devastating tragedies when his first wife, Cassandra Harris, lost her battle with ovarian cancer. Years later, in a tragic development, Charlotte, who was Pierce's adopted daughter, died at the age of 41 from the same type of cancer that took away the life of her mother.
And just last year, I held the hand of my funny, wonderful daughter Charlotte before she too died from this wretched inherited disease.
Charlotte, the mum of two herself, passed away days after marrying her partner. Heartbroken over the horrifying story repetition, Brosnan would soon have to face new sad reality, this time related to his adopted son Chris. After spending years trying to save Chris, who got hooked on cocaine and heroin after his mom's death, the actor had to give up on that battle. Every now and then you can still come across headlines referring to Chris as Pierce Brosnan's estranged son. Even though James Bond is reserved in expressing his feelings in public, he still speaks honestly about how painful it was to cut Chris off, but he had no other choice. I had to say, go, get busy living or get busy dying. He has my prayers. Bobby Brown. The daughter of the singers Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown was found face down and unresponsive in a bathtub in January 2015. The 22-year-old spent 6 months in a coma before passing. The family of Bobby Christina Brown accused her partner Nick Gordon of giving her a, quote, toxic cocktail. Gordon died 5 years later at the age of 30. Brown, commenting on his young daughter's passing, revealed how his whole family was praying for 6 months for Bobby Christina to come out of a coma, which unfortunately never happened. He added, "But when God calls you, He calls you." The musician made a bitter joke, referring to late Whitney Houston, who called their girl up there. Her mother was not comfortable by herself, I guess. She just called my daughter with her. Prince. The child of the famous musician was born in 1996 with a very rare genetic disorder called Pfeiffer syndrome and couldn't breathe without a ventilator. The boy tragically died 6 days after he was born. In her memoir, The Most Beautiful, My Life with Prince, his ex-wife, dancer Maite Garcia, wrote, "They brought the baby over to us. He was curled on his side, gasping shallow little gulps of air. Because there were no lids to blink, his eyes looked startled and dry. I caught hold of his tiny hand, saying over and over, 'Mama loves you. Mama's here.'"
He lived for a week. It's hard to have that life inside of you and it not continue. It's still really hard.
She also told people in an interview that Prince might have never recovered from the shock and grief. Sadly, in 2016, the musician himself died of an accidental drug overdose aged 57. Robert Plant. The son of the musician died of a stomach virus back in 1977. He was just 5 years old. The boy's condition worsened within 24 hours of diagnosis. His mom called an ambulance, but it was too late. He died on the way to the hospital. Robert said that 1977 was, quote, "the year it all stopped for me. Nothing could make it all right again, and nothing ever will." Step by step, with the support of the family, he continued living, one day after another. He later dedicated several songs to his late son. Speaking about the tragedy in their family's life a couple of years ago, Plant said that the song All My Love was, quote, "just paying tribute to the joy that he gave us as a family, and in a crazy way, still does occasionally." Bill Cosby. Comedian Bill Cosby, who is currently serving a term in prison over aggravated indecent assault, lost 2 children, his son, Ennis, and his daughter, Ensa. Ennis was shot in the head in 1997 in Los Angeles while he was on winter break from his classes at Columbia University. Soon, an 18-year-old man was tried and convicted of first-degree murder and attempted robbery. He was sentenced to life in prison. The Cosby family received a lot of support, with numerous strangers leaving flowers on the spot where the killing took place. Then President Bill Clinton personally called Bill Cosby to offer condolences. 20 years later, the comedian's daughter would die from renal disease, aged just 44. In her last years, Ensa was known for being supportive of her father during his sexual assault scandal. She defended him, saying, "The man portrayed in the media today is not who my father is. The accusations against my father have been one-sided since the beginning." The woman was said to have been buried next to her late brother, Ennis. Joe Biden. The 47th Vice President of the USA has faced a series of tragic deaths in his family. In 1972, Biden's wife and their 1-year-old daughter were killed in an automobile accident. Nelia was driving with their 3 children when suddenly their car was hit by a trailer. The couple's sons, Hunter and Bo, suffered minor injuries, but both Nelia and Naomi didn't survive.
But the call said my wife was dead, my daughter was dead, and I wasn't sure how my sons were going to make it.
In 2015, Biden lost Bo due to brain cancer.